have a Great Commission Sunday, and at the heart of that is the Alliance is giving an invitation for a special gift for missionaries. And I know sometimes it feels like all churches ever do is ask for money. The only time I believe that I've done that since I've been here is when it comes to missions. I love being a part of the Christian Missionary Alliance. If you're not familiar with our denomination yet, we were started in the late 1800s. And it began with a Presbyterian pastor who was pastoring a very well-to-do church in Manhattan, but he had a heart to reach the marginalized in the city of New York. And his church didn't want those kinds of people in the doors of the church, and so he walked away from a very prestigious position, and he never intended to start a denomination. All he wanted to do was gather together believers who wanted to go deeper in their relationship with Jesus and make sure that the good news of Jesus went to the world. And so they just started gathering. No matter what church you went to, they would just kind of start gathering and encourage each other to go deeper with Christ and take the gospel to the ends of the earth. And finally, by the 1970s, that movement became so big, we decided it would be helpful logistically if we organized as a denomination. So our heartbeat, our DNA has always been seeking to take the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world. And what I love about the way that we do it within the Alliance is we don't go into a country and start an Americanized church and train them to run an Americanized church. We go into a country, and as the locals give their lives to Christ and they're discipled, we raise them up to be pastors, to have a church that reflects their people, their culture. And once they are self-sustaining, the Alliance takes those workers away and sends them to other places that don't have gospel access so that we can multiply that work. And a lot of our DNA is built in Acts chapter 1. Where in Acts chapter 1, before Jesus ascends into heaven, he tells his disciples, he's been preparing them to carry on his ministry. And before he ascends into heaven, he tells them to not do it. Don't do it yet, but wait. Wait, and when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, then you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And sometimes I think we misunderstand what Jesus was saying, that we tend to think about, okay, what Jesus meant was, let's reach Jerusalem, and once all of Jerusalem has been reached, then we'll branch out to Judea. And once we've reached everybody in Judea, then we'll branch out to Samaria. And then once everybody in Samaria has been reached, then we'll go to the ends of the earth, because that's not what they did in the book of Acts. In the book of Acts, the apostles stayed in Jerusalem, and they continued ministry in Jerusalem. There's many who fled persecution in Jerusalem, and they went to other places in Judea. They went to other places in Samaria, and then Paul and others go out to the ends of the earth. But it's never this, then this, then this. It's a here, there, everywhere at the same time. And so there is this call of Jesus to take his good news, his gospel, to all the world. And I know there are so many, if you're like me, when I was in high school, the church that I went to, every year they had a missionary come in to speak. And it was always the same guy every year. And it was kind of tough because he gave this spiel about he needs financial support, but he would also talk about how he would hobnobs with kings and princes and in these mansions. And it's like, well, you're doing better than I am, sir. I don't know what you want from me. But my heart had gotten a little hardened toward missions because of that. But God began to work in my heart to see his heart for the world, because I know that one of my complaints was, well, there's so many problems here in America. There's so many unreached people right here, and we're sending all these spirit-filled people to other parts of the world. But it's part of this all-nation strategy of God. It's not just about here. It's about everywhere. Because there are people and places in this world we get so familiar with. You can stand outside of this building and just turn 360 degrees and see several churches that you could pick from. And there are parts of the world where that is not an option. We're simply trying to find somebody else who knows the name of Jesus will take you a very, very long time. And we as a movement want to shorten that gap to give gospel access to all the world. And so the Great Commission Fund is how the Alliance does that, to send out workers. And so here in the spring, the special appeal, if God puts it on your heart, there's information in your bulletin that can help the Great Commission Fund, and the more that is in the Great Commission Fund releases more missionaries. We can only send out as many missionaries as we can fund. And so I would encourage you to take that home with you and pray about it and see what God might have you to say. But as we celebrate that, and I don't want this to just kind of be a throw aside, hey, every spring there's the appeal, hey, if you can give more to the Great Commission Fund, that would be great. But I've wanted to see this be something that we remember, and for this Great Commission Sunday to be something special. And we have a couple of guests, but before I invite them up, I want to look at Matthew chapter 11 for just a moment. In Matthew chapter 11, what we have here is John the Baptist is recognizing that his days are numbered. And before he gives his life for the cause of Jesus, he kind of wants this reassurance. Like, before I lose my life for the sake of Jesus as the Messiah, he sends his disciples to kind of be like, are you really the one? Are you really the Messiah? Before I give my life, I need proof that this is all for something and that this is all true. And so he sends some messengers over to Jesus to ask if he is the one or if they should keep looking for another. And in Matthew 11, verse 4, Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. And the dead are raised up, and the poor have good news preached to them." Notice what Jesus says as proof that he is the Messiah, that this gospel is true. He invites the disciples of John to simply look around, to see the things that he has done, to consider the things that he has said. And if you look at the totality of the life and ministry of Jesus, you see an interesting pattern. And that pattern is duplicated in the book of Acts. And it's duplicated throughout church history until the past couple of hundred years. And that pattern that Jesus models is this balance of word and deed. That he proclaims good news, but he also tangibly demonstrates good news. He heals lepers, he heals the blind, he heals the deaf, he performs all of these miracles, he feeds a hungry mob. He is continually meeting the practical needs of the world around him in the midst of proclaiming the gospel of his kingdom. And we see this repeated in the book of Acts, where they are ministering to the practical needs of people in the midst of proclaiming the gospel. And this has become embedded in our DNA as the Alliance, as A.B. Simpson was known for establishing orphanages and healing houses and different ways that the practical needs of people can be met to go along with the preaching of the good news of Jesus. And so this morning, as we celebrate and think about our part in taking the good news of Jesus to the world, we also want to kind of bring that big picture a little closer to home, to recognize that there are things that God is calling us to do. Maybe it's giving to the Great Commission Fund, praying for our international workers, but there's also work right here close to home in our Jerusalem and in our Judea and in our Samaria. And so for the second year in a row, we are having a ministry fair today where we invite other ministries in the community to come and share who they are, what they do, so that you can get to know them and see what ways that perhaps you could partner with them. And last year, we had several lined up, and two of them called that morning sick. I'm beginning to develop a complex because we had initially 6 ministries that were going to be here this morning. 2 weren't able to finalize, so it became 4, and you see those 4 in your bulletin. After I ran the bulletin Friday, Priest Good, a great guy who will have come out another time from Habitat for Humanity, who was one of the ones that got sick last year. He's like, something came up and I just can't be there, but I'd love to come another time. So we were down to 3. And then this morning, CJ Marcano from Restore Addiction Recovery called sounding horrible and said, I'm really sick and I can't be there. So I feel like I need to give a warning when I contact other ministries, like, there's a good chance you're going to get sick. So take your vitamins, get your sleep, because I'm starting to get a complex about this. But we do have 2 great ladies here this morning to talk about their ministries. And so I'm going to start with Bethany Miller from Rahab Ministries. Bethany, if you would come and share a little bit about who you are and what you guys do. Thanks for being here. I muted you, sorry.
Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if I'm, there we go. Now we've got some volume, because you won't hear me otherwise. I can talk a lot, but not necessarily loudly. So yes, I'm here to represent Rahab Ministries, and I love the story you told of even how CMA was started. And so one gentleman being obedient to the call of the Lord and the Holy Spirit on his life to go to reach those who are marginalized and less fortunate, and to step outside of that comfort zone. And truly, that's how Rahab started also. So I love hearing those stories, because we were started by one woman who never had a dream of starting some big organization, but saw a need in her community. And she recognized that women in her own community in Akron, Ohio, were being exploited and were being used sexually. And she started going out into streets and into strip clubs, and we still hear stories of how she would hand out little slips of paper with her name and her phone number, and she has been known to say she had no idea what she was going to do if they called. But it was to offer kindness in the darkest of circumstances, to step into a space that most people weren't willing to go, and simply to look someone in the eye and say, I'm here for you, to offer a hug and to offer kindness. And we still get to do that work today. Now we have names for it, so we call it outreach. We still do outreach in the streets and in strip clubs across 3 counties. And we also now go into jail facilities as well. And it is about stepping into that space to say, your story and what goes on here is not too dirty, it's not too shameful, it's not too scary. You're important enough to come here. We get to go and offer a small gift where she doesn't owe anything for that kindness. And just to start building those relationships. From there, we have 2 separate drop-in homes, one in Akron and one in Canton. These are open during the weekday where women can drop in. There's no application, no qualification, no referral necessary. She doesn't have to give us her name. She does not have to be clean or sober to come through the door. She does not have to do anything to receive kindness and care, but to come in the door and to get clothing and hygiene supplies, family-style meals, to be invited into Bible study, to get to come and be part of an intentional community, no matter what her circumstances are. But just because she is a daughter of God and therefore important and deserving of our care, regardless of what has happened to her or what's happened in her life. So to get to welcome her into those spaces. As Rahab developed and we had these programs several years ago, the Akron Juvenile Courts called us and asked us to help develop a court docket for them for trafficked youth in the area. And Rahab leadership said, well, yes, we know trafficking, but we don't serve youth. And they said, but you know trafficking. So we started the development of that court, and therefore now we serve youth as well, because through that partnership, we developed minor mentoring as well. And now that is also across several counties, and we will go where the girls are. And so what we do is pair young girls, and actually that program also accepts young men, with a healthy adult mentor who works them through a curriculum that is built on the science of hope, which aligns beautifully with what we already knew from Scripture. And the whole idea is that we get to love the individuals who have been so hurt right where they are and to offer the kindness of Christ. Our mission statement is to provide Christ-centered transformational services to those who've been directly affected by sex trafficking. The important thing for us to realize is that sex trafficking is not an out there issue. It's happening in every community. And the numbers would astound you. But more than numbers, I want you to realize that they're lives. And so when we have a woman who comes to the front porch of the drop-in home, but won't come through the front door because she doesn't trust anyone, and we get to greet her on the porch with a meal to go and a kindness and say, you're welcome back anytime. And maybe she comes back a little later, and then eventually she'll come in and get a cup of coffee and then take off. And then she sits down for lunch one day, and then she begins to share her story. The timeline is not ours. That's between her and the Lord. But we don't get to be a part of it if we don't open the door. So our job is to meet individuals right where they are and to love them right where they are. And we get the privilege of seeing how the transformation happens through the love of Christ. So when you support Rahab and you get involved as a volunteer or as a donor, you get a glimpse of the work that Christ is doing right here in our own community and truly changing lives, because we get to see it every day, and it's a blessing and a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Marianne Henry from the Copley Outreach Center to share a little bit. And again, with the thought of Priest Good being here, Priest likes to talk, so you can fill his void if you would like. So.
I don't know if I can follow that. Yeah, my name is Marianne Henry, and I run the Copley Outreach. We are a food assistance facility. So when I started back in 2016, we had about maybe 15 regular families that would come in once a month for food assistance. In 2019, I had a call from the high school where a child was going to be going home without any food for the weekend. And I said, where do you want me to take this? And they said, we'll come down and pick it up. So, which started the ball rolling for our weekend backpack. I took over in 2019, and then 2020 hit, which we all know was COVID. And it presented a lot of issues, not just for us, but to families. And a lot of places were closing down, and we decided that this was not acceptable. If they're going to be hungry before COVID, they're going to be hungry after COVID. So we continued right through COVID, making sure that every family in the community had enough food, whether it was weekly, monthly, whatever. We turned around and said, okay, after COVID, all the doors are open and everybody can, now get food and go out and do what their thing and that. But kids were still hungry. Not only were they hungry during the school year, but they were also hungry during the summer. So we started a third program, which is our summer box program. We have grown from that 15 families. We have 130 students in our program, and we also have about 67 regular families that come in monthly. You would think in our community that this is not, something that would affect us, but we have several families who are struggling, and just being able to help them. We go out, we service them. If they can't make it in to pick up their food, we will deliver it to them. We've gotten to the point where the donations, we are so blessed. The donations have been so much that the fire department has asked us not to stack food in front of the windows. So right now we are in the process also of a building campaign. So anything that you can do to help, we definitely will appreciate it. Food donations, food drives, just monetary donations. We purchase our food through the food bank, which a lot of people don't realize you have to actually pay for it. It's not free. So, any assistance that you can give us, we are definitely there, to help the community And we made it our mission to reach out and make sure that every family, every child does not go hungry. Thank you.
It could be so easy for us to fall into the mentality of just looking around, and Copley Fairlawn's such a beautiful area, and to realize that these two very prevalent needs exist in our own backyards, and so many other needs. And again, the question that I started with when I first visited here in the initial interview was, what would this church look like? What would Copley Fairlawn look like if Jesus attended here? And I often think about, what would Jesus do, or what would the heart of Jesus be at the reality of sex trafficking happening in our community? What would the heart of Jesus be with starving children in our community? And certainly we want people to hear and respond to the gospel, but to do that alongside of meeting those practical needs. If somebody doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, it's kind of hard for them to focus on the gospel when their concern is, I don't know what I'm eating today. And so I just want to put that out there as we talk about international workers and reaching the nations for Christ. And that is our desire to see all people of every tribe, nation, tongue come to know Christ. But as we also reel that in closer to home, to realize that there's so much that also needs to happen here. And I look at these kinds of Sundays as a buffet. There's some things at a buffet that you're going to go to and get. There's some things you're not going to get. I am not going to fight you for the green beans. You can have all the green beans in the buffet. But there's other things that I will be drawn to. And so as you think about just even local ministries that might pull at your heart, there might be some that stand out more than others. But we just are very blessed to have partners in ministry like these two ministries that we can find ways to lock arms with and help meet and address these needs. You may have known that for the tickets that were purchased for the Akron Rubber Ducks game this past week, $5 of every one of those tickets the Rubber Ducks are going to give to Copley Outreach Center. So as those funds come, we'll put that through. But that's just one of the ways that unknowingly you already help partner with different ministries in our community. So that's going to lead me to the next portion, and that's making it very, very, very close to home, and that is right within our own walls. We're going to be having Vacation Bible School again this year, and the theme is Illumination Station, of shining a light on Jesus. Now, there is an insert in your bulletin that lists some of the different, this is kind of the ideal world picture. If we could have our ideal team, these would be the different things that are covered for Vacation Bible School, August 3rd through 7th. So we know that not all of them may be met, but as you take that home to pray about it, think about it, and how this is not a contract. Just want to assure you of that. This is not, I'm checking this and putting my name so I'm locked into this. This is, what areas might you be interested in helping with? We'll follow up with you, and you're welcome to change your mind. But take this home and pray through it. How might the Lord have you help to be a part of this? And so again, that's coming up August 3rd through 7th. There is a display table at the back. You can get a better idea of our theme there. Before we turn it over to our theme video, I don't want to forget that on the other side of the sound booth is our table for Akron Pregnancy Services with the baby bottle boomerang. And so remember, if you didn't get a bottle yet, feel free to take one before you leave. Fill that up however you desire. Bring it back. There's a basket underneath the table. You can drop off any filled up bottles in that. So that will be running through Father's Day. So with that, I just want to give you a little sneak